BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello there, I'm Liam McLeod and welcome to a special edition of the Scottish Football Podcast ahead of Scotland's friendly with Iceland, where I sat down with manager Steve Clarke and captain Andy Robertson for a wide-ranging conversation about the upcoming matches, qualifying for the World Cup and emerging talents in the Scotland squad, amongst a whole lot else. Steve, it's a very different camp to the one you were experiencing this time last year when you had the Euros to look forward to, but still plenty for you to gain from it, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course. Every camp's important. Every time these players go to represent their country is important to them. It's important to all of us. So, on the back of a disappointing result last time, we look to move forward again, which this group have proved to be very good at.
I think, like you said, obviously a lot different from 12 months ago, but two important games for us. And yeah, we've got a couple of young lads, a couple of new players in, and that's always good. You have to see them. You have to see how they can cope with the training, and if they get games and if they get minutes, how they can cope with that. And it's up to the kind of key core and things like that to still show up and still be ready for these games, because they're important. These are the last two friendlies we've got before the World Cup qualifiers start, and if we want to achieve our dreams of playing in our World Cup, then we know how perfect you have to be in qualifiers, and if we're not, then of course we'll get left behind. So I think these two are crucial, to see different things, see different players, but also try and get a bit of momentum going for the games in September.
10 years ago you were sitting on the bench in Dublin, so Euro 2016 qualifier, almost exactly 10 years ago. You were the kind of youngster at the time. Does it feel, when you're one of the more experienced pros now and the captain obviously, does it feel a little bit like there's a changing of the guard coming in the next little while? Yeah, of course. Look, you see, within football there's probably it's not quite as like generations as in lifetime. You kind of see different generations kind of coming through every 4 or 5 years. So just now it's probably at the back end of it, it's probably me, Granty, John McGinn, even I know McTominay's a bit younger, but Kieran Tierney and people like that. And then you've obviously got the slightly younger ones that are Fergie and Billy Gilmore and Nathan Patterson, things like that. And then even younger than that, you've got James Wilson, Lennon Miller, and all the young lads. So you see them coming through, you see how confident they are, they see how good they can be and how good on the ball they can be in training. The young lads have been excellent in training all week, and hopefully if they get minutes on the pitch in these two games, then they can show it on the big stage as well. And if they do that, then it only stands us in good stead for the future, because when you do decide to kind of hang them up and not play anymore, then you still want to leave the national team in particular in a good place. And I think with the young players we've got through, I think us kind of older boys, there's a hell of a chance of that happening. That's the thing, that you get your Scotland debut at any time. I remember I always reference the fact that you were playing for Queen's Park at Borough Briggs against Elgin, and 12 months later you're making your Scotland debut in Poland. I mean, it can come at you fast, can't it? So you've got to be ready to take that opportunity. Yeah, it can come at you really fast. I think if you look at James Wilson, probably this season, probably nobody had really heard of him maybe at the start of the season.
Here's a chance for Hearts, Wilson! That's a mistake in the back post, and there's young Wilson to prod it home from about 7 yards.
Still playing probably under 20s football at Hearts, and then he obviously kind of breaks into the first team, starts doing well. He's now been with us the last couple of camps, and he came on against Greece in March and made his debut. And Lennon's probably been a bit more, he's been in the Motherwell team for a while now, the last couple of years, and everyone's known about him. So you never know what's round the corner. You never know, even if you look at Andy Irvine, who's a bit older, his career path's been amazing, and now he's involved with Scotland. So you just never know what's round the corner. You never know when it's going to come at you. It comes at some people young, it comes at some people halfway through their career, and even some people at the end of their career. And I think that's, you just have to always be ready. You always have to dream, and you always have to set yourself targets. And these lads that haven't made their debuts, then I'm sure that will be their aim by the end of this camp, to at least have one cap. You've had a few months to kind of digest what happened against the Greeks here. Have you managed to put your finger on what went wrong that night?
Yeah, I think probably more than one thing went wrong on the night. Obviously, we feel as though we conceded goals that we shouldn't have conceded. The pitch became a bit stretched and open at a time when we didn't need it to be. The game was still level.
It's Konstantelius for Karetsas to cut off. Beautiful goal! Greece have the advantage now!
And obviously conceding a goal just before half-time and then compounding that with conceding a goal immediately after half-time sort of makes it a difficult night. So I've got an idea of where we went wrong. We've touched on it a little bit this week, and hopefully you'll see the results of that, not only in the games coming up but in the games in the autumn as well.
I know it's hard for fans and other people, but I think for us it is important to try and know that the first game was good, because it's important we don't lose momentum off one bad performance. And the first game was good, especially the first half. We could have been 2-0 up, maybe even 3-0, and second half was backs to the wall. They came at us quite aggressively and we stood tall, we defended our box amazingly, kept a clean sheet. But back here it was obviously, hugely disappointing. We can't hide that fact. It was, the team on the pitch was nowhere near good enough. We made subs, and they probably didn't quite have the impact that we wanted either. And I think if you look at it, we had to do 2 lots of travelling, which I think played a part. I think it was when I look back on the game, it was a pretty lethargic performance. It didn't look as if we had a lot of energy. It looked as if we were struggling to kind of stay together as a unit, and I think when we do that, we always struggle. We're always better when we defend as a whole team and we attack as a whole team, and I think that didn't happen. Like I said, it's also important to know that the Nation League campaign was a decent one. I'm not saying great, but it was decent. We competed with Portugal and Croatia over the 4 games, and then obviously Poland here was disappointing, but the Poland away result was excellent. So I think it's important to look at the whole picture and see that, try and not step in the way of momentum and just try and build that again. And we've got 2 games to try and do that, try and get 2 victories and then build a little bit of momentum, going into September.
Which is when the real action begins again, the World Cup qualifiers. It's a pretty fast group. You've just been through one of those with the Nations League, just the 4 teams in it. There won't be much margin for error in that one, will there?
No, not at all. I think even if you were in the bigger group, with the World Cup, there's no margin for error. I think if I look back at our last qualifying campaign for the World Cup, it was as close to perfect as we could have got it. We picked up the results that you would expect us to pick up. We picked up probably unexpected results as well at times, and we still managed to finish second, which was a good achievement. And then, the standard of teams in the playoffs are, tough, and that's a fact. So we've experienced that last time, that we know there's no margin for error, but we are in a tough group. There's no hiding away from that. We are in a tough group. It's going to be difficult, but like I says, if we do all the things that we're good at and we play as a team and we play as a unit, then like we've done so many times, then I believe we've got a chance against any team, and we'll have a chance in the group. And it's up to us to perform, because like you said, there's only 4 teams in it. It's not such a long campaign, and our aim is to try and be at the World Cup, and we have to try and deliver that.
What's your top priorities from this camp and these 2 matches?
Just for the players to go out and play as they can play. It's not very often. I'm not saying the games are not important, but it's not very often you get back-to-back friendlies where hopefully the players can relax a little bit, if that makes sense, but without being too relaxed. Relax and play the way that we know they can play. I think that's important to us.
Before the Euros, there are fewer friendly matches these days thanks to the Nations League, but before the Euros you were choosing kind of top tier sides as friendly opposition. This time around it's kind of lesser lights, but nonetheless these international fixtures can be a little bit stodgy at times. What are you expecting from Iceland in particular?
Tough game. This time last year they went to play England in a friendly at Wembley, beat them 1-0. Obviously they had a tough group for the Nations League, and then they played Kosovo in the playoffs, and between the group games and the playoff games they changed manager. So they have a new manager, a new coach that's come in, so maybe they do something slightly different. But like I said, it's more about concentrating on ourselves this time. The level opposition is similar to the level opposition that we played last summer here when we played Finland at Hampden and then Gibraltar in Portugal. So the makeup of the 2 games is pretty similar.
It's been a heck of a long season for many of your players, but it must delight you that you've got a position here where it's the day before the match and everyone who you selected is here and ready to go, yeah?
I think it's great for everybody. The whole country should be delighted that they've got a group of players who could quite easily have found a way to wriggle out a selection. There's one or two of them have turned up. They're still carrying little knocks and niggles for the end of the season, but they're here and they want to be here, and that's a great thing for everybody.
A lot of uncapped players in this squad, a lot of young guys coming in. How have they integrated with the more senior players who've been here for so long?
Yeah, good. Obviously, most of the younger ones you're talking about, with the exception of Kieran Bowie, have been in a squad before, at least one squad before. So they understand why they're here. They understand that better the levels that they have to reach, and that's one of the reasons why it's nice to bring young players into the squad, because they come here and maybe they get their eyes opened a little bit by how high the standard actually is. We try to treat them properly. We try and give them the best of facilities. We try and stay in the best hotels. We try and look after them as best we can. And then they've got to look at the pitch and see the level that they have to reach to be capped continually, to be selected for squads continually. So that's, rather than thinking, oh, we've got 7 new or 7 uncapped players, let's give them all a game. It's more a case of trying to integrate them into the system and let them see what they can achieve if they continue on the same path.
It's been some season for you personally again, picking up another title winners medal. How do you sum it up?
Yeah, amazing. Probably unexpected to the outside world. Maybe at the start of the season, I don't think we were favourite. I don't think we were second favourite, and potentially not even third favourite with some people. But I think the quality within our squad, we backed ourselves, and then obviously it was the uncertainty of not knowing how we would cope without Klopp and the new manager coming in and things like that. But I think we realised pretty quickly at pre-season that we've got a hell of a chance if we can do what he's asking us to do, and we can perform to a good standard. And I think we've done that on the most part. I think we were the most consistent team, and I think that's why we ended up on top, and we ended up being pretty comfortable in the end. When other teams found their difficulties and other teams dropped points, we really kicked on, and we ended up getting a bit of a healthy lead, and then we could secure it with 4 or 5 games to go, which was incredible. So another incredible season. Delighted to now have 2 Premier Leagues. It's so hard to win them, and I've been close with a few, and sometimes you think is that your time? Are you not going to win another one? And I'm so happy that we managed to get it over the line, and the celebrations are obviously pretty special as well.
It's really good. You think we've got five title winners. You could probably put Grant in there as a title winner down in League One with Birmingham. You've got Josh Doig with Sassuolo in the Serie B, promotion for Serie B. Spread across different countries as well, which is great and shows the way that the lads now look at Europe as a market, not just the UK. They're prepared to leave their comfort zone, go abroad, and I think somebody like Lewis Ferguson, Max, great example of that. And recently this year, Billy and Scott McTominay going to Napoli and doing all right.
That, isn't it?
That's fantastic.
That is some story. When you see the murals that Scott in particular has devoted to him, and that's Maradona style.
Well, I think
that's it.
That shows you the level of the intensity of the Italian supporters from Napoli. But it's been great. I think towards the end of the season, everybody in Scotland became a sort of Napoli supporter, because we wanted the boys to get the title, and they managed to do it, which was great.
Just to touch on this before we let you go, and clearly these games are looking ahead to the World Cup qualifiers beginning in September. What do you make, having just come through one of those groups, what do you make of the new format, the 4-team group? It's very quick, isn't it? And there's not that much margin for error as well. Definitely.
I don't know. I'll tell you after we've done it. But no, listen, it's slightly different from before, where you probably had 2 teams where you were targeting 12 points. In this one, you're probably targeting 6 points from the 4th ranked team, and then looking to get as many points as you can for the top 2 ranked teams. We'll see what we do. We'll see how many points we end up with, and hopefully it'll be enough to take us to the World Cup.
Sir Alex Ferguson is the most successful British manager of all time.
Nobody is above him or this football club.
So how did an apprentice toolmaker from Glasgow become one of the most iconic figures in sporting history?
His strength of character, his determination, the fight in him.
He can be persuasive, he can be charming, he can be frightening.
I'm Kelly Cates, and this is Sporting Giants Sir Alex Ferguson.
I didn't want to fail. I couldn't fail.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Adam Binnie, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday the 6th of June as Scotland take on Iceland.
As Scott McTominay is indeed going to get the chance to give Scotland the lead from the penalty spot. Up he steps and scores! And Scotland have the lead!
Let's hope for some Hampden heroics this evening. Are we set to see a transformed starting 11 from Steve Clarke?
I think you know me quite well by now. We don't really experiment too much. The process with any team, but especially a national team, is you know there has to be a cycle, there has to be a turnover of players eventually.
The Scotland head coach tells the fans not to expect too many changes, and Russell Martin was unveiled to the media as Rangers head coach.
So we are here to win, and we'll do that in the best way we possibly can within a similar concept to the game, which is to be dominant with the ball, which I think is what Rangers fans expect. We're here to win, and we're here to do it in the best way we possibly can.
We get a fan's perspective on what they're hoping for.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
I'm delighted to say this morning we're joined by a couple of comedians. This should be a fun one. Ray Bradshaw, Partick Thistle fan, and Rosco McClelland, Rangers supporter. How are we, boys? We okay?
Yeah, great, thanks. Great, how are you?
Very well, very well. Right, let's start at Hampden first with Steve Clarke. Scotland face Iceland in the first of two international friendlies. Ray, I'll get your thoughts on this one first of all. Clarke said that young players have embraced being at the camp. I know he name-checked a couple in Max Johnson and Lennon Miller that have impressed at training so far. Do you expect many changes tonight? Do you think that's what the point of these games is all about, really?
Yeah, I did until I watched Steve Clarke's press conference and he was like, nah, we're not doing that. So it was proper fun police on it. I thought that was the whole point of friendlies. Like, what's amazing, Adam, is I can't remember the last time we did an international camp when no one pulled out. So that's quite cool. But yeah, I thought we'd see James Wilson play a bit. I think we all want to see Lennon Miller. We always want to see Lewis Ferguson. There's no Kenny McLean, so there's like a spot opened up. But yeah, especially on when is it, Monday when we play Liechtenstein, who are 200th in the world, 201st. I mean, we could play. Like, I'd be up for that. Like, I've seen Rosco play.
Played with you. No, I don't think we could do that at all.
Oh, come on, Adam. I think we could sneak it in. We could get maybe a hat trick and then get subbed off. But yeah, I thought we'd see a lot of changes. I think you'll probably see George Hurst play after coming on and changing allegiances. But yeah, Steve Clarke's it's very much in his way of being dour in a press conference, so it seems to have maybe changed that side of it, I think.
Roscoe, as Ray pointed out there, no one's pulled out. It's, two international friendlies, non-competitive matches. It's been a long, hard season. I think certainly in the case of the Napoli boys, they had some lengthy title celebrations as well, but everyone's turned up. How pleasing is that to see that sort of level of commitment?
Honestly, it's actually it's given me the ick a little bit. I'm like, why are you not away on holiday? Hey, you're turning up for international friendlies. Good for you, teacher's pet.
But that's what it's all about, representing their country. Come on.
And do you think there must just be you think Robertson's won the league? You've got Gilmore, McTominay. Are they still just got too much alcohol in the system to realise that they can pull out? Like, what do you think's happening, Roscoe?
Maybe that's it. They're smashed. They're like, we'll turn up. We'll go for a night out in Glasgow. That'd be great.
Just Steve Clarke goes out to his team talk and there's just vape smoke everywhere from everyone still out. That's what
just watermelon berry blast in the changing room. The only thing I thought, and it feels like such a Rangers point of view, this, but it's not. I quite like Steve Clarke, but I just feel like we should maybe be ringing in the changes a bit further. I feel like maybe Steve Clarke had ran his race a while back. And it reminds me of a time where I actually saw Steve Clarke in B&Q once, right? And I looked at him, and he looked back at me as if to say, "Don't talk to me. I know I'm Steve Clarke, but I'm not actually." So I was like, fair enough. But what I did notice is that he was carrying a basket, right? And in that basket, he had a tin of paint. And now I think back on it, I'm like, that tin of paint has got a handle on it. So he could have just been carrying the tin of paint with the handle instead of putting it in a basket. And I've lost all confidence in him after thinking that.
Do you know, if I had a quid for every time I'd heard Roscoe's Steve Clarke paint story, I'd be able to afford a 35 quid ticket for the game tonight.
It's a good story.
That's a great story. It's the first time I've heard that. And I mean, I can't understand why you wouldn't just carry it, why you put it in a basket. But listen, I trust Steve Clarke. Obviously, he's got us to 2 major international tournaments. I think he's certainly more capable in that position than we are. We might be better at carrying paint around B&Q, but he's certainly the man for the Scotland job. Roscoe, I know he said yesterday that Scotland have to improve their record in these friendlies, so there might not be as many changes we're all hope to see. But do you think we could surprise a few people? I think that the Hampden crowd tonight will expect some of the uncapped guys, 7 uncapped players in the squad. Did you expect to see any of them tonight?
I would hope to see them. Yeah, I mean, you've got to play them. This is what these games are for. You know what I mean? To blood these two, and it's with the likes of Kenny McLeod being out. It feels like there is a changing of the guard. Some of them maybe not the non-star players that we have. It's maybe time to kind of put them out to pasture, as it were, or have them be bit part players and start playing these younger guys who haven't played for us before. And I think it will make the team better. I think everybody can see that putting Ferguson on and Lennon Miller, I think everyone can see that it's going to make us a better team, especially, and future-proof is a wee bit as well. So I hope to see them.
There's guys like Max Johnson as well, who's doing amazing. It could be cool to see him. I think what you'll probably see is you'll see a lot more changes for the game on Monday, because Iceland lost Kosovo last time out a couple of times, and then Liechtenstein, who we play on Monday, lost to San Marino this season and stuff like that. So I think we will. The worry for Clarke is, like, the last time we played friendlies in a kind of round was this time last year. Do you remember we played Finland in Craig Gordon's retirement, who then went on to play another 8 games, and it was just awkward. Like, what was the other one? Did we play Gibraltar or something like that away, and we struggled to beat them? And then
it's actually 1 in 9 friendlies in Gibraltar.
Is it? Yeah. But do you know what I like, Adam? It's a long time since I saw this. Angus Gunn unattached. Like, that's what you want at this time of the season, innit? Guys without a club in the shop window trying to look like they're playing well. But yeah, you're saying 7 uncapped players, but like the 2 goalies, McCrory and Slicker, I don't see them playing at all, really. I thought Liam Kelly maybe would have, after such a good end of the season for Rangers, but yeah, I don't see many changes, sadly. And I really, really thought this was the kind of time where Clarke would have left out your McGinns, your McTominays, your Robertsons, and bring in Doig, Miller, some more exciting players, but that didn't seem to happen, sadly.
It is a grudge match, this, against Iceland, because remember that time a while back where the volcano went off and that guy was on the news shouting, "I hate Iceland." I think that's burned into the Scottish psyche, and I think we all have a wee bit of hatred for Iceland, whether we know it or not.
Roscoe hugely angling for that farm food adverts there. Like, that's what's happening.
Other frozen food supermarkets are available, of course. You mentioned there, Ray, that like McTominay, Gilmore, McGinn, Robertson, all still in the squad, the kind of more experienced guys. Do you think that they're in there, maybe if they're not going to play as much, but to help those younger players, the uncapped ones, just so that they're coming along to Scotland squad and really get that full experience of having the older guys help them settle into it?
Yes and no. I think what happens now in international football, a lot of the guys have been in squads before, and like Lennon Miller was in March, George Hurst has come in, Max Johnson's been in a few squads, like players like that. But I think James Wilson as well. But I think essentially every manager seems to say this. I saw Thomas Tuchel say when he came in as England manager that you only get X amount of days as an international manager to get the camp together. So he's probably wanting them altogether for that. I do think we could have done, because we do have a youngish squad. It's getting older, obviously, every campaign that we go, because we're relying on the same guys. So guys like McTominay, Robertson are probably, I mean, what was Robertson, 80 caps? McTominay's, McGinn, they're all over 50. So they're experienced enough.
That Robertson's 83.
Yeah.
83 now and 75 from McGinn.
There you go. So we know we can rely on these guys. So why not give them an extra week off so they can go to Dubai like every other footballer, or do what Jack Grealish is doing right now and get start trolling comments on Instagram about why he's not scored enough goals and putting up a compilation of his goals. Let's get that done instead of having to sit on the bench at Hampden.
Oh, well, get like a compilation of Kieran Tierney tearing his hamstring and put up or something like that.
It's so good to have him back. And Hickey as well. Patterson is coming in. Hickey will be coming in soon. Like, we're coming back to, I feel like I do a lot of Scotland stuff, and we talked about how we've missed Patterson and Hickey for the last, what would that be, 15 months probably. So the fact that one of them's back in the squad is exciting, and we can kind of go from there.
Clarke spoke yesterday about the fact that in these friendly matches you're going to be able to make 6 subs, and kind of suggested that might have been the reason why they threw away the 2-0 lead against Finland. Are you buying that with an extra sub helped?
No. Like, that's just, someone's told him that. John Carver's whispered that in his ear before he's gone in. Remember talking about the subs, and he's like, yeah, sound. And then, no, because remember, friendlies back in the day, there was a really grim period about 2003 where we lost 3-0 to Hungary, 3-0 to Iceland, 3-0 to Ireland, all at Hampden. And I think that was around the time of the Robbie Earnshaw Wales game. And you'd make 10, 11 changes, and that'd be nice, because at least they couldn't be as bad as the guys that had played the first half, and they came on, and then they would prove you wrong even then. So I think at friendlies, you either want the team to change at halftime, or there's nothing worse than doing like 8 or 9 changes and stuff like that. So if you can do these 6 changes, some at halftime, but you know, Clark's like, he always does his subs on the 70th minute, pretty much. He's like, he's playing Football Manager.
Rosco, should this be straightforward for Scotland tonight? Iceland are 74th in the world rankings. Believe what are you expecting to see from the game?
I think so. I think Scotland haven't played too well the last, really, since pre the Euros. I don't think Scotland have played particularly great.
We beat Poland, we beat Croatia, we played all right then.
The away game at Greece as well was all right.
Aye, but they ended up doing us. But I think it's time for a wee a form revival, and I think these matches are going to show that we're on the up again. So I reckon this will be pretty. I'm going to say like 2-0 Scotland, although we still don't really have a goal scorer. That's the only thing that I hate. We just don't have a goal scorer.
2-0. Ray, what's your score prediction?
I think we'll win. I think we'll win tonight, even though we don't usually win. I think 2-0 probably sounds about fair. Iceland have got like a good striker. I think he's at like Sociedad or something like that, but he's not playing. And see, when you see that, you're always like, yes.
Oddy Oscarsson.
Yes, thank you, Adam. Let's dub that in so pretend I said that. Yeah, I think when you look at that, I'm always more wary of teams where you don't know the players. Like Greece, when we played Greece, I was like you said, we played well in that first half. We go 1-0 up, and they bring on a 17-year-old that I've never heard of that's the best player in the park. So and you're like, right, okay. Yeah. So no doubt Iceland have got 6 wonder kids they're ready to bring out tonight. Hopefully 2 wins, 2 clean sheets. Be interesting to see if we still start Grant Hanley after a huge over-reliance on a guy that's played less minutes in the past 9 months than Kieran Tierney, which says it all. So yeah, I think 2-0 is probably a fair assessment, but I'd want more, and I'd like to see Che Adams and maybe Hurst or Wilson or one of the kind of new forward players getting on the score sheet as well.
Let's hope so. And tonight's match is available across the BBC, live on BBC One Scotland from 7:30 tonight, and BBC Radio Scotland Extra, and as well as BBC Sounds. Right, lads, I'll ask some clarity on the Rangers managerial front as Russell Martin stepped in front of the cameras yesterday. Roscoe, you're of course a Rangers fan. What do you make of the appointment? Are you pleased?
It's one of those ones, I believe that the group that are now in control of Rangers, well, from hearing from Leeds fans, they said that they're not signing the people the fans would like them to sign, but they are doing it very analytically, and they're signing people who are making the team better. So you have to hope that it's a managerial signing in that respect. A man who is really he excels in playing against a low block, which is 90% of Rangers' bread and butter at this point in the Scottish League. Obviously, there was talks of like David Ancelotti, and people were saying, "Oh, we're going to get Ancelotti's son. He's going to bring Modric," but Modric isn't going to finish his career playing against Falkirk on a Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? Three artificial pitches. Falkirk, man. Because he's what age is Modric now? 39?
Yeah. 39, yeah.
39. He's not going to last 3 artificial pitches in the cold dead of a Scottish winter. His knees will crumble to dust, man. but yeah, that's never going to happen. But I think, do you know what? It's better to have an actual manager than somebody whose dad was a manager. So I'm on the Russell Martin bus.
On the Russell. Have you always been on that bus?
Yeah, Roscoe's been stung so many times by playing under his mate's dad when he was 11 years old, and now is no longer wanting it.
Right. Roscoe, who did you want at the start? Were you always on this Russell Martin bus, or were you elsewhere?
I honestly thought Russell Martin was just a name that was thrown in the hat because they needed more than like 1 or 2 names. But who did I want at the start? Honestly, do you know what? I'd sort of, at the end of last season, I just thought to myself, do you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of football. I'll see you when the season starts again, Rangers, and I'll just catch up with you then. So I didn't have a preferred manager. For a while, I thought it would have been incredibly box office to get Mourinho in for Scottish football. That would have been incredible, and I was shouting that from the rooftops. We've got money, go and get Mourinho. But when that wasn't going to happen, I just thought, well, I'll just wait and see who seems good. And to be fair, Russell Martin on paper doesn't seem good, but
I thought you were going to say sounds sensible.
No, it doesn't seem good, but you have to wait and see with these things, Why not? It'll be a laugh. Give it a shot.
Ray, what have you made of kind of the reaction to it on social media? Because you've got a lot of Rangers fans. I was surprised actually by the number of Rangers fans who are seemingly quite disappointed by this. Maybe not disappointed, underwhelmed by this appointment. I don't know if that's because of his track record in previous jobs, his style of play, or his disappointing 6-month spell as a player, whatever it may be. Some people aren't too happy. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's such a funny club to get an appointment to, though, isn't it? Like, it's very rare you see other articles about what they wore to the press conference. Like,
is that because he had the pundit trainers on instead of the brown brogue?
Yes. Also, the fact that the BBC Sport website is reporting that he wore a club tie to the press conference. Like, you would not get that with any other club. You've got fan media saying he needs to get his hair cut, saying he needs to get that. It's just such a different kettle of fish. I'd heard rumours of this short list of managers, and like Roscoe said, Ancelotti, you're bringing an assistant in who's probably more unproven than Martin is. Martin doesn't have a great win percentage over the years. What is it? People keep quoting 38, 39% or something like that over his managerial career. Didn't really adapt at Southampton. But I think it'll be a decent-ish appointment. Of all the other ones that were rumoured, it was Marco Rose, who's kind of in that Red Bull landscape, that seemed the most appealing one, but he never seemed to be close. I think Martin will do all right. It's funny. I would say, I've seen a lot of people on social media say this, the fans really wanted Beale, the fans really wanted Van Bronckhorst, the fans really wanted Clement. The fans thought it'd be a good laugh for that Rangers Avengers group of Ferguson, McCann, McGregor and all that. So maybe it's time to go somewhere different and someone that they don't want and see if that makes a difference, because it's not exactly set the world alight. I'm glad it's not Gerrard, because I think that would have been a bit silly to go back and do it.
Yeah.
One trophy out of 9 is always a thing that gets landed against him, and he's not done too well since.
Rosco, I heard someone I read someone on social media saying, as a Rangers fan, said, I've never been more excited about Rangers Saturdays, but I fear for Rangers Thursdays, I think in reference to Russell Martin's style of play and breaking down that low block. What would you say your kind of hopes and fears are for Russell Martin as Rangers head coach?
Well, that's, I guess the obvious thing is people are saying he's never managed in Europe, you know. And that was the only thing we could hold on to last season was the European campaign, you know, and going, oh God, we're actually doing all right here. So you could pretend we were a good team. And you know, we were a good team. We could play against teams that opened up, and we could play against them and beat them, you know, on our day. It was just the low block, but it makes so much sense from the consortium's perspective because no disrespect to other teams, but Scottish football has been a 2-horse race for the last wee while. So really, realistically, they're seeing it as, from an investment point of view, all we need to do is beat Celtic really to win to the league title, and then we're getting that Champions League money.
But Roscoe, you beat Celtic twice this season.
Well, yeah, beating Celtic seems to be, we've got that, we had that down. You know, the players that are there don't have that fear of Celtic anymore that they had for a few years. They're not terrified that Celtic are going to come and rush them in the first 10 minutes and their bottle crashes. But it's the low blocks. It's these low block games that really ruined their season. You know, you're because you could see these games coming as well, and the fans would get nervy. You know, it's like nothing each or one each, and then Rangers just leak a goal out of nowhere, and we just kind of break these blocks down. So it makes sense to bring Russell Martin in.
Do you think the fans are looking forward to Saturdays and not looking forward to Thursdays? If you're a Rangers fan, because you're playing the Thursday, it means you don't even play on the Saturday. So they don't even need to watch Rangers on the Saturday then. That could be the big difference.
Maybe that's a good shout, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. You get to go shopping, you get to go to Silverburn or something instead.
Ray, we just have one last word on this appointment. What do you think, or how do you think the Rangers does, if you like, the older members of the Rangers support, how do you think they will cope with a vegan Buddhist in charge of their club?
Like, I'm sure there's other vegan managers and it doesn't make a difference. There's some that are definitely not vegan. I'd put my money on it. David Martindale, 100% not a vegan. John McClelland, not a vegan. But there's others I'm sure that are out there. And that's never mentioned. It's just because of the quote, and you see it a lot. Like, I've interviewed Rangers players, Rangers managers who always refer to the football club. It's that kind of ethos around it. So I think it's like anything in football, Adam. See if he's winning games. No one will care that he's going home to have a kale smoothie. No one will care. But the minute Rangers start not doing well and he's not animating the touchline, you will get on the football forums, he doesn't have enough energy because he's not had a steak in 6 years, and then that's the comments that will go. That's what's going to happen. I think we all know that. So it's like any job in Scottish football. You're doing well, no one cares. You're doing badly, and it's all going to come to fruition.
Well, lads, unfortunately that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much to both Ray Bradshaw and Rosco McClelland for their time this morning. Thank you all for listening. The Scottish Football Podcast is actually taking a little bit of a summer break, so we'll be back in July. But to make sure you don't miss out on anything when we're back, make sure to subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone. Once again, thank you to Ray, thank you to Rosco, and thank you all for listening. That was really good fun this morning, and we'll see you all again in July.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.